Chess friends, how are you? Last day I showed you how to attack in the king side by pushing your g-pawn. But today, my formidable opponent applied the same strategy against me. Not only he played brilliantly, also he invented a new chess opening strategy and tactical motifs, which actually crushed me in 25 moves. You may wonder that how one can defeat Stockfish under 25 moves, but this is the actual truth that I lost against him very badly. This game proved that even if your opponent is higher rated than you, if you use my opening strategy and ideas, you can crash anyone. So let's get started. Torch opened with e4, he has the plan to push f3 in order to build a strategy to push forward the g and h pawns. Let's examine how he develops his strategy, after I play d6 and g6. This typical move order called the popular modern defense, where I want to plant my bishop on g7, push the e5 in center under the control of the bishop, and knight c6 will support in the center, or you can go with c5, even with the c6 chain, then bishop g4 and knight f6, these are the common responses in the pirate defense or modern line. Alright, we have the two knights variation from Torch. Torch is concerning to develop his knight first to play bishop e3, queen d2, because I played g6 then bishop g7, he got the opportunity to make queen bishop battery to launch an attack along with this diagonal, and push the h-pawn sincerely to open the h-file, therefore knight g5 will be a very challenging move for black to sustain his structure. Alright, do you get it? I played a6, my a6 move idea is to prevent the knight to come in the b5 square, where the knight can possibly attack on my structure along with this bishop f4 emperor in future. Another strategy is to develop the queen side with b5 where I can set up my another bishop fumetto to activate the bishop, through this amazing looking diagonal. Alright, we have a4 and knight f6. My knight f6 idea is that, whenever you try to build your queen bishop battery to launch an attack in the king side, I have the sneaky little move knight g4, to eliminate your bishop right away. This is my strategy behind your strategy. Torch response with h3, in order to guard that square. Okay, we have castle and bishop e3. In this traditional looking pawn structure, black can go with the d5, which is absolutely fine for me. White will usually play e5, some of you might think of playing knight d7 but we will put the knight on e4. Trading the knights may look beneficial for white because he is going to win the pawn on e4, black can't either play f4 or bishop f4. As bishop f4 will meet up with the g4 counterplay. Therefore black has one and only formidable move which is very hard to find, that move is c5, directly challenging in the center with the pawn and the queen. Knight c6 will come to pressurize against the center, bishop is also there to do counter-strike. The game could play like this, but I am not much concerned with d5, I rather follow the b6 move, developing the bishop to counter-strike the pawn on e4 accompanied by the knight. Therefore some of you might consider of playing d5, it's a completely garbage move because it locks down the center, and also it overextends the center. The d5 move must prevent the bishop b7 move, but it also creates the weakness where black can accomplish his attack by c6, because the d5 move is overcommitted, the dark squared bishop gets the free Wi-Fi along this diagonal. The center becomes very weak, where the knight can dominate the game by accessing to the e5 square or the c5 square according to his strategy. Alright, and let me share a quote with you. The path to happiness is a path of mindfulness and self-awareness. So in this game after I play b6 Torch did not play d5 because that move is completely rubbish, he makes his strategy by playing queen d2. Associating the queen and bishop in an attack to eliminate one of my piece who is essential to shield my king site place, and then by pushing his h-pawn and opening up the file, he can make a strong attack through the knight on g5, that is his strategy which I taught in my previous video and now he is applying in against me. This is very ironical and the bishop on d3 can potentially sacrifice himself to fire up the board. This bishop sacrifice on g6 through d3 is very hard to accomplish. Anyway, black has a master plan to supervise his position by playing bishop b7, and then the powerful counter-strike with e5. This bishop b7 and e5 move creates a global warming situation in the center. By fighting in the center, Black will able to access his dark square bishop diagonal, and put his rook on e8 if necessarily required, and you can play knight d7 followed by knight c5 to attack the light squared bishop. If white ever try to play long castle, it will be a very arduous situation for him, as the dark square bishop is presented on g7, therefore I will push my c and b pawns to engage the queen on a5 to create the pressure over here. But in our actual game I choose a different approach, not the standard looking move bishop e7 following with e5, I played the hilarious move c5. This move is an actually mistake according to me. First of all, it disconnects the b and d pawns from their root. It's an overcommitting move, which is why it creates some weaknesses for the long run. If the king was presented in the queen's sight, then it would be another matter, because this pawn structure is designed to break open the center. If you capture the b pawn, then welcome aboard, you provides me the opportunity to engage the rook in this b file. Since I played c5, he got the chance to lock down the center with d5, this pawn controlling over these squares, where bishop e7 move completely shut down by the structure. Now I can play e6 or knight d7 to obtain the e5 square. The bishop is operating through this diagonal, which is the marvelous thing for me. So I follow up my plan with knight d7, looking for the e5, and Torch immediately started attack with bishop h6, but ignored it and played bishop e7, connecting the rooks. And here, some of you might think of playing long castle because it's a move of our plan, but you should not pick a flower before its time if it is not fully formed. I will strike you with b5, this is the reason why c5 was played. Now b4 is coming, your king is in the queen's side, my army is faster than your thoughts, rook c8 is coming to get access in this file, queen b6 is an incoming threat, but the main is to deflect your knight by playing b4 where I can pick up your pawn on e4. The bishop is also bringing a massive change through this diagonal, so after you exchange the bishops, you play queen e3 to protect the pawn, but here comes the striking move with b4. Deflecting the knight from his home square to bring our queen on a5, attacking to this pawn, knight b6, knight e5 and rook c8 can be played to fragile your position, so after knight a2 rook e8 you may think of playing king b1 in order to reposition your knight on b3 or d3 according to your necessary. If he plays c4, then just grab the pawn on b4, nothing serious in there, but black can play an integrating move with e6 to unlock his rook potency. Believe me or not, your center is vulnerable where black is attacking to your queen behind from the mirror. This position leads to a flawless victory for black, as the pawns are completely combative along with the on rook c8 who will support the pawns to move forward, and the queen a5 move will dominate the position like the sun dominate over darkness. And let me tell a quote for you. Happiness is a choice and a skill, and you can dedicate yourself to learning that skill and making that choice. Going back to the position, Torch did not play castle, because he knows the vulnerability behind the long castle, as the pawns can straightforwardly gain advantage, therefore he played h4 to make his own plan successful. We know the strategy behind the h-pawn, which is why I tried to counter-strike him with b5. He doesn't take it in mind as his h-pawn is faster than light. He eventually becomes the fast attacker in my king's side with h5. As I already mentioned, this h-pawn will help the rook by opening up the file. In this position, the evolution bar indicates it as an equal position, but it's not even an equal position. White has a massive advantage if black gets smashed by his strategy. First of all, if you capture the pawn with your knight, g4 will come to kick out your knight. Some of you may think of sacrificing the rook, but this move is completely rubbish, as queen g5 will not work to accomplish an effective attack because the rook will stand along with the g-file to break down your ego. Alright, the best and efficient move is to play g4 first, kicking out the knight first to get access to the h-file. As the knight goes away, you follow up with queen h6 and knight g5, threatening to capture the pawn, then the knight to deliver checkmate on h8, the same tactical strategy which Torch is trying to execute against me. We saw the variation what will happen if you capture the pawn with your knight. Now let's talk about g takes h5, which is the best move also. You follow up with the g4, executing an attack with queen h6 followed by queen takes h7. Knight takes g4 loses the pawn on h5, which is why the knight can't move, but the pawn can drive away the knight with g5. then pick up the pawn on h5. So what should black play now? Think yourself a little bit. The best move for black is to play b4, counter-attacking the knight right away, and as the knight moves, he can able to pick up the e4 pawn. Then bring out his other knight. Also remember, knight takes e4 have a tempo on the queen. Therefore white should play g5, and you can see both knights are under attack, unable to free from their bad deeds. However, you can't move away your knight as the pawn gets unguarded and sophisticated attack from the rook. He have to lose the knight and take my knight right in this position. However, this position can be very much balanced if black plays the game in the most perfect ways. But in our actual game, instead of taking the pawn on h5, I played a mistake move, b5. This is a mistake move although the evaluation bar is unable to understand what's going on here. Torch's king is not located in the queen side, which is the reason why he ignores the threat and captured on g6. Now if you recapture my pawn, I will drop an atom bomb in your position with queen h6. If the king moves back, then knight g5 will slap in your head. Knight takes h7 is coming, the e6 square is vulnerable. And in most cases your position is just get lost. Torch's attack becomes successful by his opening strategy, which he utilize against me. He gets inspiration to play this brand new opening from this video and he applied against me. How ironical. And if you haven't watched that video, then go to my channel and look for that video after watching this, and you can also find different types of opening tricks and traps in my opening playlists. Alright, in this position, if you slide away your king, knight g5 may come. Then after the king reaches to his house, the e6 square will be a permanent outpost for my knight. Play knight d1 to relocate the knight to place it on c4, dominating the queen side. Furthermore, you are attacking to the rook on f8 together with your knight. Additionally, the king is stuck in the 8th rank, unable to safeguard his position. This is the most splendid and losing position for black. So in our actual game, I captured the knight first, or what I could do. He throws an ice ball in my face with queen h6, king moves back, and here comes the audacious move, knight g5. My position is very unpleasant and terrible. He is threatening to capture the pawn and I can't resist it, as it will result into a checkmate. Capture, capture and checkmate, that is his slogan. So what should I do now? If you think of capturing the pawn, then welcome aboard. Knight takes h7 will cause immediate checkmate after I capture your knight, or it is even faster with queen takes g6, your position is completely susceptible, going back to the position. Some of you may think of playing queen a5. Queen a5 has a strategy to take the pawn with the discover check, but I will completely neglect this threat after I captured your pawn on h7. C takes b2 creates a discover check and wins the rook on a2 by promoting into a new queen. You have 2 extra queens. Congratulations, have a sweet night. I doesn't mind it as I can checkmate you on h8. Game will be over. So in this position, we have seen f takes g6 and queen a5 move orders, but in the game I played c takes b2, attacking to the rook, and if you dare to protect your rook by playing rook h1, you will lose all the attacking sequences, as I can give you a check with my queen, and after the king runs pawn captured and king f7, my king will find a safe route to escape from your idiot armies. That's the deficiency of chess. If you are attacking your opponent, you have constantly maintaining your pressure by creating possible threats, tricks, check and capture. So back to the position, after I capture on b2, he didn't play rook b1, instead he said, "You want my rook? Come and take my rook, let me go for my spiritual journey." Now he's threatening to capture the knight, delivering checkmate on h8, and black has nothing to do with. In this position, even if you try to maintain your position by capturing the pawn, queen g6 will be a checkmate in a few moves. It is the queen and rook checkmate, very smooth, very tricky and very astonishing. I played knight h5, but that does not matter, as he can play knight f6 check, sacrificing the knight, then he sacrificed the other rook. Even in this position, if you capture the knight with your queen, queen h7 will result into a checkmate, so after takes, it is impossible for me to prevent checkmate. And after a few moves later, I tried to extend the game as I can, but after c4, I decided to resign the game. That was an absurd defeat for me. Even Stockfish loses his game in just 25 moves by his own chess opening strategy. It's unbelievable and unimaginable. However, I presented the game to you. I hope you enjoyed my game and the content very well. Is it so? Then don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, because making these types of contents take me a lot of time and energy. Almost 6 to 7 hours a day. Anyway, see you in next video and share this video with your friends. Wish you all the best. Bye bye, see ya.